Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic specialty show. It is Tuesday at about 9 o'clock, 4 minutes after 9. Another beautiful day. We've had a really nice streak of weather here, so it's supposed to be I think all week. The forecast is looking pretty good. So we're blessed with a little bit of nice weather here after pretty mixed bag this summer. Actually, not very good weather. So it's nice to kind of make up for it to a degree for what it is. So today is the third part in this whole series of this big movie haul that I've been a part of. The It was about over a week ago now. I went to Opera House Video in Belfast, my favorite shop to rent movies. They had this massive sale, so I got a whole ton of movies. I bought mostly DVDs. I did get some really good Blu-rays also. I also had gone to Bull Moose that same day. It was a day during we had a hurricane pass through here, through Midcoast Maine, and it was pretty chaotic. But I thought it was going to be worse. I lost power for about 6 hours, so I know other people had their power knocked out for even longer. But it was a good reason to get out of the house and spend money that I don't necessarily have. So, but today is today is a continuation of the series of basically I decided to just review every movie that I bought and talk about each movie, whether or not I give them thumbs up or thumbs down. One of the reasons behind the whole kind of idea was I don't typically, when I do these shows, I only post videos and reviews for films that I'm totally excited by, that I'm fired up by, and that I really love. I don't generally I don't write or do reviews on movies that I don't like, because I like to just fill this whole world with, when it comes to Film Fanatic, I like to fill the whole world of Film Fanatic with like more positive things that inspire me and things that I really love, and all that kind of, that whole thing that entails. The one exception up until this point is that when I go to the movies, which is not very often, I wish was more of a frequent thing, but it's been a pretty dismal year as far as new releases. So I haven't been going to the movies nowhere near as much as I used to, but I still go every now and then, and I usually, because that experience is it's pretty rare, which is so weird to say. Every few months I might go. I, as far as new releases go, I have been going to the Waldo Theater to see movies that are old school movies. They show a lot of classics. It's part of the Waldo After Dark. Those are not new releases. That's my favorite film series, so I go to that a little bit more often, and that's usually once a month. But as far as like new releases, it's kind of dismal, so it's pretty sporadic when I do go. But when I do go, I do have a bunch of reviews overall that are on this channel of movies I have seen in the theater, and I generally will review them. Usually, I always review them whether I've liked them or not, and that's the only exception. But what I decided to do with this series was just review all the movies I bought, whether I liked them or not. One of the reasons I decided to do this new show like that is, I think it's a good thing. I talked about it in a previous video. It's good to, when you come across something, a piece of art, whether it's a book or a film, or you go see some interesting kind of dance performance, or you go to an art gallery, whatever it is that that is involved with the arts, that's more or less like entertainment. I always base on base my kind of my opinion on most of the time it's around my first kind of reaction, the way I kind of react to it, and there's always exceptions to that process, but I think 9 times out of 10, at least for me, your first reaction to something is usually what is the biggest telltale sign of how you actually feel about it, and whether it's a real positive experience or it's a negative experience. You like I said, you do have those experiences. Like there's been certain movies and certain bands where I initially didn't know what to think of it, or it didn't resonate with me. Then over time, I found myself really digging it. But that's kind of rare overall, I think, for me. Usually it's like my first reaction, my gut reaction is usually telling me, how I feel. And I think, after that, kind of the process of what I go through after I see a film or like I said, anything related to the arts, usually I don't intellectualize things too much. I try not to. I kind of feel it's like a primal experience between your reaction of your mind and body, how you react, your kind of your behavior after you see a movie or you go see a band, and if you're talking about it with friends and you're excited and you're still thinking about it, that's usually a really good, powerful, or positive experience. It's something you'll want to do again. But on the other side of things, sometimes, obviously it's not something very good, or it's not something that you're really excited about, something you don't like at all. I think there's a little bit of a thing of, like, say, after some time goes by, you start thinking, or at least this is how I function. If I go see a band or go see a movie, I have my first reaction, and then after some time goes by, I start thinking about certain things around that film or that experience that I feel made it good or made that experience exciting. Certain characteristics, like say for a film, oh, what was it about that movie that I really liked? Was it the music? Okay, the music really stood out, or maybe just the general direction of the film. Oh, okay, that's a key point, maybe the main point. The acting, the storyline, the level of suspense, or my feeling of really caring about who the characters are. So I'll think of those things in terms of what makes the movie I feel a great experience. And same thing for if I go see a band, it could be like the production, maybe it's a melody or the hook or the groove, and I'll think about it. And then if I have a negative experience around that particular encounter, I'll think about, oh, what are those things about it that I feel kind of at the end of the day for me failed. And it could be the same thing. Maybe it's the direction was off, the editing was bad, or the I didn't really care about the characters on screen, or this one particular band or the song just felt like it was forced. It didn't feel organic, and it felt like it was trying to reach a certain audience, or it just didn't feel sincere. And so I think when you're giving a talk, or maybe you're talking with your friends or just some people about that particular experience, or you're in this case kind of trying to write reviews, it's a good way to like lay out your case for the pros and cons of something, whether it was a negative or a positive experience, and you can like hopefully articulate to a degree for yourself what really worked and what didn't work. So that's part of the whole reasoning of doing this kind of new show and this new format. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm kind of dividing up the videos in the way I do the videos. If it's a movie that I see that I recently bought, like I said, that I just really love or just am really excited about, whether it's something I've never seen before or it's something I have seen before, I'll do kind of just a normal, regular review about it, and I'll do, I'll usually post it that same day, and I'll probably do the the active where I'll share it around a lot more, but it will get its own kind of personalized treatment as a regular review. Movies that I see that I feel are good, but not like, I don't know, I'm not blown away by them, or that, I'm not like really excited about per se, or I just think they're good, they're solid. I will just include them in the post on this channel of where I'm labeling them the video hall number 2 or number 3 or number 4. So that's that. I'm going to be I've been separating the movies that way. For example, I did a show yesterday on this movie Beyond Justice with Rutger Hauer, which I had never seen before, and I really loved that movie. I thought it was an awesome experience and super fun. And I did, and that was one of the movies I bought and I had never seen it, and I got a DVD copy of it and really loved it. And I did kind of, my normal review onto itself, and I didn't include it into the category of just like your video haul. So today's show is going to be on a movie I watched yesterday or last night, and this one is going to be part of that category of the video haul, and this is going to be video haul number 3. So, and that movie is from 2012. I had seen this movie quite a long time ago. I think I saw it shortly after it came out on DVD, and that is this movie starring Matthew McConaughey called Mud, and it came out in 2012. I bought this. This is a DVD copy. This was part of the this was one of the movies I bought at the big sale, Opera House Video, and I believe like I said, I saw this probably. I mean, it was a long time ago, so probably this came out in 2012. So I saw it like right after it came out on video, pretty much. And then so watching this last night was a pretty fresh experience. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie, so it was like kind of like watching it for the first time. And I'm a big Matthew McConaughey fan overall. I think he's a really great actor. My favorite thing he's ever done, which for me is the best thing he's ever done, and really when I first saw it, I was just like enamored with it, and I still am. And that is the first season of True Detective, starring Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. And that to me is my favorite TV show of all time. It is just an amazing show. I did a big show on True Detective a while back. Hands down, my favorite TV show. When I saw that, I always liked Matthew McConaughey. I thought he was pretty good, pretty solid. But when I saw that series, I was just like, wow, this guy is like one of the best actors around. I mean, just he gives one of the most intense and engrossing and electrifying performances I think ever. And I I bought the that series, the first season of True Detective on Blu-ray a couple of years ago, and I've watched it numerous times. So that really put me, put Matthew McConaughey on the map for me. I have seen lots of other films of his, and I think he's pretty darn good. Like, he's really versatile. Another movie I really like of his another one that I really took notice of his performance was Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. I really like that movie a lot too. I have that on Blu-ray. I'll at some point do a review of that film. That's a really good sci-fi movie, very emotional movie. And so, and another movie I really love, which is another sci-fi movie, which I think he's really good in, and I did a review on this one, was Contact with Jodie Foster. Really great sci-fi movie. Actually, one of my more favorite, more relatively more modern science fiction movies. Really great movie. And I have that on Blu-ray, and I did a big show on that last year, or actually this year. And so, so this movie is pretty good. I think it's a super solid film. It's it's definitely it feels it's got a very literary aesthetic behind it. It feels like it's a slow burn crime drama to a degree, and it has a very slow pace to it. It was directed by Jeff Nichols. This film also stars Reese Witherspoon, which back in the day she was in. Back in the '90s or early 2000s, she was like in every movie, and she kind of just, I don't know, she kind of just went away for a while. I know she had some kids, um, and you just don't see her in anything. The My favorite thing that Reese Witherspoon was ever in is also another older movie called Freeway with Kiefer Sutherland, and that movie is just awesome. It's a really great movie about this serial killer. It's a revenge movie, and she's amazing in it. And it pretty much was her first movie that I think really put her on the map as an actress. And she's really young in it. She's a kid, but God, she is just electrifying. And that movie is really awesome. I don't believe I have a show on Freeway. I will probably do one because it deserves to be talked about more. I do have it on DVD, and I don't believe I've done a show on it, but eventually I will. But the cast for this film is really great. Matthew McConaughey, of course, is the star. Jacob Lollifield, Ty Sheridan, of course, Reese Witherspoon, Bonnie Sturdivant, and Sarah Paulson, and Sam Shepard is really great in this. Great, old school character actor. And it was directed by Jeff Nichols. And the film is basically about this main character, Mud, who is played by Matthew McConaughey. And he's essentially this fugitive. He gets involved with this murder. And there's this whole kind of love triangle that's going on, and where he was got involved with the situation of where his girlfriend Reese Witherspoon was basically being attacked by this man who they were in this abusive relationship after some time had gone by, and he basically defended her and killed this guy who was more or less trying to kill her. And so he goes into running. He goes into hiding. He becomes a fugitive from the law and lives in this really remote. It takes place down south, and he lives in this on this totally isolated island. And he ends up becoming or befriends these two kids, and they work out this plan of how they're going to help him, and they bring him supplies and how he can eventually get off the island and try to live his life somehow, and to flee from, because he knows the family and the relatives of this guy that he killed are after him, and then he's also wanted by the law. So it's a cool movie. It's definitely solid. I think it's pretty entertaining. It definitely feels, it has a very literary kind of aesthetic to it. It feels like you're kind of reading a novel. There's a lot of interesting characters. There's a lot of interesting kind of narratives. The whole narrative is pretty good. It's pretty solid, pretty strong. It's got a lot of interesting little plot twists to the film. It has a good climax towards the end, the last 15 or 20 minutes. Although I think it was a little bit, I don't know, I felt like the ending was a little bit, to be honest, I thought it was a little bit predictable. And you're kind of the movie. The other thing too, this movie is it's very slow. I love slow. If films that have this very slow delivery, I'm fine with it as long as the story is moving along, as long as it's kind of cohesive. And I think movies that do have that slow burn to them that are really good you're still getting that information. You're still, even if there's like these big scenes of where there's virtually no dialogue, you're still getting, well, you're still getting entertained, but you're still getting the information. You're getting, maybe that juxtaposition that you need, or you're getting a sense of what's going on. It doesn't necessarily need to be said. And two movies I think are really fantastic about that. Both very different movies, but Ridley Scott's Alien. Very slow movie, especially the first half. There's scenes of where there's no dialogue, but yet I always feel like when you see that movie, you're getting all of this information. You're still, about 5 minutes in, you're just hooked, and you're still getting this information. You're still getting, you know, a sense of where these characters are coming from and who they are, even though there's not necessarily any dialogue. Another movie, which is I think it's a French movie called The Silence, which is just an amazing uh, crime murder mystery film, highly suspenseful, and it's about these series of murders that happen, and it follows these characters over about 15 or 20 years. But it has, at its core, it's a very slow paced film, but it's that same kind of thing of where you're still getting a lot of rich information, and it's an amazing film. And I found myself when I watch that film now, even 5 minutes into it, I'm hooked, and I just care about everything, even though I'm not getting bombarded by dialogue or even getting any dialogue. It's a story, such a well crafted story, and Mud has that kind of slow burn aesthetic to it also. But it's not really. I don't put it on par with films like that because those films are just exceptional. But this film is good. It has, again, it feels like you're. It has a very heavy literary sense. It feels like you're kind of reading a book. It's good. There's some really good characterizations. The cast is really good. The writing is really good. I have empathy for everyone that I see on the screen. I care about what's going on. Um, but it is a little bit slow to the. It's it's definitely slow, but I kind of feel it does drag a little bit, especially by the third act, where you're kind of anticipating something to kind of maybe exciting to happen to kind of push the story along, and it kind of doesn't happen. It just continually goes on, and on it. I liked it. I think it's a very well done movie. I think it's very well directed. Matthew McConaughey is really great in it. The cast, like I said, especially the two kid actors in this film are really good. Reese Witherspoon is really great in this film, even though she doesn't have a lot of dialogue. She is very good. The It also has a very somewhat interesting blending of genres of film. It's definitely a crime drama film. It's definitely a melodrama. I would say first and foremost. So, and it has a little bit of suspense to it. It doesn't really have a whole ton. It's I feel like as far as the mystery or suspense element of this film, it could have been an added element to this film to kind of make it a little bit more exciting. And like I said, the ending is really good, but I kind of feel like it was. And again, this is like an experience after you see a film. Your first reaction to it is usually a pretty good indicator as to if you like it or not. And then if you're still thinking about it the next day, and if it's a film you want to talk about, like case in point, what I'm doing now. Um, it's uh, it's an interesting experience because, but I feel like the ending was a little bit forced to a degree. I kind of feel like the filmmakers were maybe at a point of where they were like, okay, let's tie things up. Let's have this kind of exciting ending, and to try to tie things up, let's have a like an action driven kind of ending. And it does make sense as far as the narrative of the story, but I don't know. I kind of feel now that it's been about 24 hours since I've seen it. I kind of feel it's a little bit forced. I kind of feel like maybe they. I could be wrong, but I kind of feel like they they decided to end the film the way they did because it maybe the story isn't as engaging as it could be, and I kind of feel like okay, they were like okay, let's this is the bookends. Let's tie it all together. Let's make it exciting. Let's have a big giant gunfight, and that will make this film good. I don't know. It's a little bit of a mixed thing, but I think it's got a lot of good attributes. I think it's very well done in a lot of ways. Matthew McConaughey, like I said, is great. The cast is really great. Direction's really great. Some really cool cinematography. Music's good. The pacing, I think, is the only thing that it is a little bit slow, and it kind of lacks a little bit as far as the excitement level. It's not really, it's not all that exciting. It's a little bit slow. It gets a little bit boring, but I found myself, and it's about a 2 hour film. I found myself wanting to still finish it. It wasn't an experience of like, well, I did a review on a Mel Gibson movie for this series, which was one of the movies I bought called Edge of Darkness. In that movie, I could only after an hour or so of watching that film, and that movie was also 2 hours. After about an hour of that film, I finally just checked out. And when the plot reveal was kind of put on the table as to what's really going on, why was Mel Gibson's daughter killed, and it was this really complex reason as to why it happened. It was about this big kind of government conspiracy, and it was all of these things that were very complicated, and it was kind of convoluted. I checked out, and so I didn't finish it. After an hour, I was just like I was tired, and I took it out. And with Mud, I did not do that. I was like, okay, it's a little bit. I'm getting a little bit fatigued here. It's still good. I care about what's going on. I kind of want to see where this is going to go, but it did drag ass at one point, and I was like, okay. So I think this movie is good. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's. I would recommend it to people. And Matthew McConaughey, I think, is one of those actors overall that he can be in a film that is, maybe not so good or not great, but he is a really great actor and has a lot of amazing attributes to his ability as an actor. So he's always, I think, for the most part, putting in a really great performance and whatever he's involved in. I think he's one of those actors that has that ability. So, if you're a Matthew McConaughey fan, I would say check this out. It's a pretty good movie. But as far as maybe buying this film, and adding if you're a collector of films, it's okay. It's a little bit forgettable. I don't know if I'd watch this again because it's so long. There are other films, and again, I love slow films, but I use those examples of those two films, and there's many films that are really, that do such a great job with that kind of pacing. And I use those two examples of like where I feel it's really successful. Mud, I feel, isn't. It kind of goes off the rails a little bit. And but I wouldn't recommend if you're a person like me who buys films and collects films. I don't know if I wouldn't really recommend this one to add to your collection. I wouldn't have if this was in the theater. I wouldn't have gone to see it in the theater. It's a good rental movie. It's a good solid movie. There are some really good things. Overall, it's a pretty good movie, but it's not great. So, it is what it is. But this is, the third part for this series of my big video haul. So thanks again. I also want to welcome aboard some of the new subscribers and people who have been commenting to the channel. So thanks again, and we will see you next time for part 4. Peace.